Okay, so this is the first screencast for Unit 1. We are going to be covering objectives 5, 6, and 7 in this screencast. Like I've said before, this is quite a bit of common sense. And the first thing that we're going to be talking about is what is physical evidence. Crime labs run on physical evidence, meaning that they don't have anything to do unless there's physical evidence. Any and all objects that can link a crime and a victim, or a crime and the person who committed the crime, is called physical evidence. Forensic science starts at the crime scene. Investigators need to collect evidence and preserve it for analysis and for the courtroom. Crime scene analysis and investigation, it's not difficult. Common sense, like I said, and most police officers should be able to do that. The first officer responding is the one who's supposed to secure the crime scene. There's a couple things that means. If there's anybody who needs medical assistance, that should be first priority. And then obviously arresting the perpetrator if he or she is still there. And then the other thing that needs to be done is any unauthorized personnel should not be allowed into the scene. People who were at the scene when the crime occurred should not be allowed to leave. Once that scene is secured, the preliminary exam has to start. And then the crime scene is recorded. There are three main ways that a crime scene is recorded: photography, sketches, and notes. Ideally, all three are going on at the same time, but it's not always possible. Couple things to keep in mind with photography. Crime scene needs to be in an unaltered condition. It has to be exactly as it was when the crime was committed. Unless there are injured parties involved that have to be removed for medical assistance, things shouldn't be moved until they're photographed from all necessary angles. So they're photographed, physical evidence objects are photographed in their position, location relative to the entire scene. So you have a wide shot of the entire scene with the object in it. And then as soon as the overviews are taken, then close-ups of each individual piece of physical evidence are taken. If there's a certain size that can be, like, shoes can be of multiple sizes and look the same, a ruler, some sort of a scale needs to be put next to the object. If there's not a ruler that's available, something of standard size like a dollar bill could be used as well as a point of reference. So we're going to be practicing doing some photographs. We're going to be practicing doing some sketches as well. Things to keep in mind with a sketch. A rough sketch, just like it sounds, like a rough draft of a paper. It's drawn at the crime scene, and it's rough. It puts everything in its particular place, but it's not perfect. Things that you see here that you need to keep in mind, that you need to include in a rough sketch. You have date, time, location right here. You have a key down here. Things are labeled A, B, C, D, and so forth in the sketch. You have a scale. So how big is this compared to the actual scene? And then something that is difficult to see here, but at some point should be included, is a compass arrow that's pointing north. So date, time, location, compass, key, and scale. Those are the things that need to be included in any sketch, rough sketch or a final drawing. A finished sketch is usually drawn to scale. It's not normally completed at the crime scene. It's drawn either by hand or using computer-generated computer software. This is an example of a finished sketch. A little bit more precise, a little bit neater, easier to read. And then there's note-taking. Note-taking must be constant throughout the processing of the scene. Notes must include a description of the scene, location of items, and physical evidence. Things that must be identified. Again, things that were on the sketches. Time of an item of physical evidence was discovered, by who packaged it, marked it, and what happened to it after it was collected. Note taker has to keep in mind that this written record may be the only source of information to refresh somebody's memory. There's a limited amount of time to work at a crime site in its untouched state. Bodies start to decompose. If it's outside, there's wind that can blow evidence away. People accidentally stepping on things and picking stuff up in their shoes. And so it's really, really important to get that crime scene processed as quickly as possible. Getting the crime scene processed and recorded is important for investigation and for the trial, like I said. And every step should be documented. Preliminary exam of the scene includes different aspects of forensic science that we're going to talk about in the next screencast.